This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. How you feeling?
Very good. And, Cam, you just got me right at the end of my diatribe there leading into you. And I know you haven't been here long enough to have the perspective that I have, obviously, on the team. But one thing I love about having you on is you've been in a lot of locker rooms.
Yep.
So you've seen a lot of different teams, a lot of different characters.
Yep.
Good and bad. Teams are headed in the right direction. Teams are headed in the wrong direction. And one of the things that I talked about leading into your segment was I think this is the most character-filled team, positively I'm talking about, that I've seen, Dolphins team, that I've seen in decades.
Okay.
When I start looking around at the Teron Armsteads and the Jalen Ramseys of the world, and then you start looking around and Tyreek and then Waddle and, before Connor Williams got injured, still a good leader and so many. And then young guys like Van Ginkel that are willing to sell out and Sealer and all that. I just think that this is a team that is primed to want to be great. I think they want to be great. I think this is a team that is hungry for that stage. You tell me.
I think we're going to find out. I think that what I've seen about this team is the most talented and probably the highest potential Dolphins team I've covered in my time here. And probably, I'd say in probably the last 15, 20 years.
35.
Yeah.
I'm telling
you. So the reality of that is all of that sounds great, but if they don't do anything with it, then it just becomes a disappointment. Right. And so I'm going to be cautious here because I think the Dolphins are a very good team. The question we've had all season is, are they elite? Are they a true contender? And I think games like Sunday versus Dallas, games like next week versus Baltimore, games like Buffalo in the season finale, and obviously the playoff games will determine that question because they have done a good job of winning games they're supposed to win. And they have not won a lot of the games they're probably not supposed to win. And so right now, I would say that what we know about the Dolphins is they have lived so far up to their expectations. Now, this period will define if they exceed them or they fall below them. And I think that we talked this summer, and I told you I thought the Dolphins would win the division, and you said the same. And they're on track to do that. And this would be a big accomplishment. But I think all Dolphins fans would say if they don't get at least one playoff win, even if they get a division title, it would be viewed as a disappointment. Yes. And so that to me is the barometer of the season. Of course, every fan's going to say you want to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying the Dolphins can't win the Super Bowl. I say my barometer for them, finish out the division, win at least one playoff game, and perform well in the second against a team that's probably equal or better than you. And that's the next step. And I think they certainly have it in them to do that. And whether it's more, that's what we'll see over time.
You look at the game last week. There was a lot of logic to the way Mike called the game. But again, he didn't have to get aggressive, overly aggressive at all because he was facing zero offense on the other side.
Right.
But a lot of things that I did like about the way he called the game and how he kind of stuck with the run at times and those kind of things. And then watching Hard Knocks, how he, also took shots at himself at some bad play calls and untimely play calls is what it is. It's not really, it's one of those, it's a situational thing that happens with him at times. So tell me, am I going to see a better situational play caller over the next 3 weeks like I did this past week against the Jets?
I thought the Hard Knocks scene with him calling a trash play was funny because one is accountable for the players, but I don't think the players think that it was a trash plays. And I don't know if he fully believes that, but I think there's something about saying it and taking accountability that I think helps everyone. I would say that one of Mike's biggest, balances that he has to do is when you're so creative as a play caller, when you're creating so much that for lack of a better word, is revolutionizing the league because you're doing motion, you're doing all of this. It's when to balance the simple plays. When is the right move to just run the ball up the middle, up the A gap for 3rd and 1, right? Versus creating something where you're going to catch the defense. And I think that's what he has been trying to balance, because when you're so creative, the mundane seems boring. You know, the 3rd and 1 over the middle, let's just do a 1st and 10 run to get 3 yards. Let's do a little if we're 3rd and 5, let's just get 5 yards. Let's throw it right at the sticks, right? Those are things that are like very simple tenets of football. But when you are trying to break the rules of football, a lot of times you don't think in those frames. And so I think those are things that we saw against the Jets, him do. I really like the commitment to the run, even when they struggled in the yards per carry. Like, it's been the opposite this year, right? They've been extremely good in yards per carry, lacking opportunities. The Jets game, they rushed the ball 26 times and averaged less than 3 yards a carry. And I think normally Mike would have seen that average 10 carries into the game and said, I'm not going to run the ball again. It's not working. Why am I going to waste plays on running the ball? But the commitment to the run, especially in the red zone, is what helped them score. And so I think that you're seeing Mike learning and adjusting, which is what you want any really good coach to do.
Yeah. And to me, listen, this is going to be his test now over the next 3 weeks for him and his team. And he knows he wasn't ready that moment against the Bills last year. Hopefully, it'll be a different story. If Miami wins, what's the element that put them over the top, Cam?
I think that if they win, they were able to slow down the Cowboys' passing attack. They were able to limit CeeDee Lamb, whether that's Jalen Ramsey spending a lot of time on him, or whether it's Kader Kohou stepping up and playing out of his mind, a combination of them both. I think they're able to limit the Cowboys' passing attack, forcing them to kick a lot of field goals, and they do enough on offense. I don't know that this is a game where they go out and score 40 points or put up 500-600 yards. But I think this is a game where their defense plays really well and they get enough from the passing attack, from Tyreek, from Waddle. Tyreek will play, by the way, from Rheaume, for them to win the game. And so I don't know that there's a blowout in store, but I think that the defense leads this victory and the offense makes enough plays, a few splash plays down the field in the passing attack, and they continue leaning on Rheaume and Devon, and they win that game. So I'd say it looks very much like 24-20.
Will you see any Chris Brooks?
I don't think we'll see any Chris Brooks on offense. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him on special teams to come back.
I just say his blocking. His
blocking's good, but I will tell you, they really have trusted Rheaume a lot in his blocking. Like, I think early on, maybe there was a belief.
I'm talking about Brooks blocking for Rheaume. I'm talking about
the fullback. What about Allen? Allen can do that.
No, he will do that, but I could see them mixing in a little Brooks because of the other option he brings to the team. He's a devastating blocker like Ingold, actually.
That's true. But I will say it is just his first game back. So I think there probably will be some easing of him back. What I will be eager to see, and I know it probably won't affect much, but is Jeff Wilson inactive? How many running backs can you have?
That's a really good one.
I think that, quietly we haven't mentioned it, but as Devon Achane has come back, Jeff Wilson's role has become obsolete within this offense. And so is there a role for him?
And Brooks is more versatile than Wilson.
Absolutely. Wilson does not play special teams, and Brooks does. And so there's more he can do. Brooks can play a little bit of fullback, some H-back. Jeff Wilson's just strictly a running back, and he's the third best running back on their team who doesn't play special teams. And so does Brooks' return essentially make Jeff Wilson a healthy scratch and make Jeff Wilson essentially the third running back and the special teams guy? That's something I don't know. I'm not reporting that that's going to happen, but it's something that I'm watching. It's going to be, I think that's a possibility.
What's the thing that you would tell the Dolphin Nation that they have to fear the most from the Cowboys this weekend?
Yes, the pass rush. I know the offensive line has been really good this year, but I do think that injuries start to mount, and you wonder with the right side of the offensive line in particular really banged up this week. You know, Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson didn't practice for the second straight day. That's usually a sign that they're not going to play. You'll have Teron. You're going to have Liam playing through his injury. But that right side of the offensive line, if they line up Micah Parsons on that side, if they line up DeMarcus Lawrence on that side and just try to get after your backups, Kendall Lamb's been good, but he's been better on the left side than the right side. And so what does that do? Tua was really good out of getting the ball out of his hands out quickly against the Jets. I think it was his quickest time to throw game of his career. But what happens if the Cowboys are very aggressive at the line of scrimmage? They have some corners in Deron Bland, who leads NFL history in pick sixes. And so what he does best is watching tape and jumping routes. So if Tua's making his mind up pre-snap and throwing to routes,
plays too.
Huh?
He gives up plays.
Plays too, but he gives up plays often when you hit him with a double move. If you're getting him, but you gotta have time to get to that double move, right? Yeah. And so those are the matchups I'm watching. How much can the pass rush get to Tua with the bang up offensive line? How much can Tua offset that with his quick passing to those playmakers? And does Dallas take more chances on those quick passes? And who wins? Does Dallas get a couple picks because of it, or does Miami burn them for taking chances? I think that matchup is the matchup I'm worried the most about. Their passing attack versus, the Dallas aggressiveness on defense. I think that Miami has some matchup advantages there. I think Tyreek and Waddle against anybody, I'm taking Tyreek and Waddle. But like I said, because of the banged up offensive line, there's going to be some schematic elements that I'm really eager to see. But Tua's anticipation and timing, which Gerald Bevel told me once again is a skill for folks who do not believe it is going to come and be a big factor in this one. And so that's the matchup I'm most excited to see, honestly.
I don't know why anybody would be worried about this right now, but they're asking me, Big O, explain the Cam Smith situation. Does Vic not like him? I don't think it's that Vic doesn't like him. It's just he's green. He's rookie. The light hasn't gone on. And if you haven't gone on, then Vic doesn't have any use for you right now. That's all. I mean, it's just one of those things. But right now, they have enough depth that's not really a concern. But you go ahead. Tell me about Cam Smith.
Yeah, I would say that Vic Fangio does have a tendency of players he feels like he trusts. He's a big trust guy. Of course. And he does not trust Cam Smith. It's point blank. Like, you can term it however you want, like doesn't like this guy, doesn't feel like his skill. To me, I think it's whether it's right or wrong. I don't know if Cam Smith's given him a lot of reason not to trust him or not, or if it's just an inherent dislike of rookie cornerbacks or distrust of rookie cornerbacks. But there's clearly not much trust in Cam on the field. And I'll say this, like what I was told early on in the season is that big scheme is a lot of off technique. You're playing a lot of zone coverage, but not only zone coverage, you're playing off. Whereas Cam Smith's game, when you were looking at South Carolina, he's a press corner. He likes to play press man, press zone, doesn't matter. He wants to be physical and get hands on receivers. He got docked a lot in college because he was handsy. And so my educated guess, knowing what I know, is just the balance of transitioning from being a press corner who's handsy to being an off-man corner, and he's maybe made some mistakes in practice, whether it's penalties or not transitioning, that has caused him not to get that trust. At the same token, there has to be a connect between what the front office saw in Cam Smith, the scouting department saw in Cam Smith, and what the coaches saw in him, because the reality is you're going to need him. Maybe it won't be this week. Maybe it won't even be this season, but eventually you're going to need Cam Smith to be a player in this team. So they're going to have to work that out whenever. But I think right now it's the lack of compatibility in what Cam Smith is best at versus what Vic Fangio wants his corners to be good at.
Yeah, and I don't think they have time right now to work on the project. Because they have to move. They're a team that's for the now. They're trying to win the now. So they've got to go with people that are a little bit more experienced right now and understand what they need. And that's it. And that's understandable. I get this. I'm not going to be concerned about this till after next season. If he doesn't make an impact next season and he's not acclimating himself, then I'll be concerned. But first-year players, I'm never concerned about first-year players because I've seen a ton of them that don't acclimate themselves in the first year. Pat Surtain didn't do much in the first year at all.
Yeah.
He could not get on the field, dude. Terrell Buckley was trusted, and he wasn't. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the reality. I mean, they're and it's not only young corners. Like, for example, Emmanuel Agba had this situation for much of the season. And I think Emmanuel Agba is a really good player. And to me, it was puzzling. But for whatever reason, Vic Fangio did not see him as a fit for what he wanted. And so he trusted Andrew Van Ginkel more. He trusted, obviously Jalen and Bradley Chubb more. And so Emmanuel was not getting reps. And Emmanuel had some frustration periods. And what happened? Injuries happened. And Emmanuel ended up playing, and Emmanuel had produced. And Emmanuel essentially proved wrong maybe the lack of trust or whatever doubt that Vic had in him. And he's not getting his full reps, but he's earned more reps. And so eventually maybe it comes this time at some point this season. It's a long season. If there's an opportunity for Cam Smith to be out there on the field, he's got to be able to prove Vic Fangio's maybe lack of trust in him wrong.
And by the way, I'll give you another Cam, although it doesn't come with the same kind of weight because he's not a high pick. But Cam Good, slowly but surely, just gets a little bit more piecemeal and a little more piecemeal. And, it's just one of those things. Young players, you're just going to have to kind of earn your keep with him and earn your trust with him at this point in time. That's all. I wouldn't worry that much about it until next year. Next year is the year to worry about. Never freak out. I remember Omar and I going back and forth on Jay Ajayi, and he didn't have a good rookie year, and he had some injuries. And I was like, you can't give up on the guy. You got to give him some time and let him grow. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, next year, he didn't have the injuries. They gave him the opportunity, and he had a great season. Sometimes with young people, we have to be a little patient. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's all, but it's not too bad. So what's the prediction?
24-20, Miami. I think it'll be a little lower scoring than people think. I think people assume that because of the offenses, it'll be in the 30s. But I think both defenses will come with something to prove. Miami obviously did last week against the Jets, and Dallas has heard all week about how they're soft. They gave up 266 rushing yards to Buffalo. Typically, teams respond well in those situations after they've been trashed all week. And so I think it'll be a back and forth game. I think it's going to be an excellent game. And I think Miami wins 24-20.
Normally the winner takes a trophy home, takes a title home, all that. In this one, it's called the Fraud Bowl. The loser is the one that's going to walk away. It's going to be really painful for the loser. Just so
absolutely, you get solidified as a fraud versus the winner. You're off those charges for at least 1 week. They're gone.
Crazy shit. All right, Cam, have a great weekend. Merry Christmas, my brother. Enjoy the football.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at, of course, the NFL Network doing his thing. Cameron Wolfe. We unleash the Wolf Pack.